to participate in one of the two extra reimbursement programs that we provide our teachers at Neosho. The other one is Career Ladder, and I will record a separate video as not to completely overwhelm individuals, because some of you will automatically be eligible for Pride, but not for Career Ladder. So let's begin on the Pride front. So this is a program funded by the Professional Development Committee at the district level. It's intended to increase student achievement through tutoring and enrichment activities, create new opportunities for clubs and organizations, encourage teachers to develop professionally, and to work on district committees. So fun fact, Neosho is one of the few districts that continued the Pride program after Career Ladder went away years ago. We've continued that as an option for our teachers for extra reimbursement for those things outside of contracted time. Career Ladder came back on as an option from the state last year as a 2-year grant. So we are continuing Pride as well as Career Ladder opportunity for teachers. So some things to be mindful of. There are some certain requirements. You must be a certified teacher at the start of the school year. It's kind of ideally designed for teachers who have completed less than 2 years of teaching in Missouri, because Career Ladder has specific requirements concerning the number of years that you have already taught in a Missouri school. And then additionally, we do have teachers who have taught more than 2 years in a Missouri school that participate in Pride over Career Ladder. Some of them have taught for 20 years and just choose to do the Pride program and not worry about the Career Ladder piece. Pride plans must incorporate 20 hours of tutoring in order to participate and then be compensated for your other hours. And that will make sense a little bit later. But 20 hours must include tutoring. It can be all tutoring. 60 total is what you're eligible for reimbursement. But 20 of those at minimum have to be tutoring, or you forego reimbursement in the other 40 hours. When you're tutoring, we really ideally like to see 1 to 5 students so that you can hone in on the skills that the students need help with and are struggling. If you have a club or an organization as another option, in addition to the tutoring, then obviously that might be a bigger chunk of students. But for tutoring pieces, it really needs to be a smaller group. Sign-in sheets for students, whether it be a tutoring or a club, should be happening. I would highly recommend digitizing that and making your life a bit easier with like a QR code that links to a Google form that the students would either type in or scan from a Chromebook or an iPad. The students could sign in. And then you have a running total on a Google sheet of who attended and timestamps, so you can keep track of that as well. You can, of course, do a paper pencil or a paper pen and upload those sign-in sheets through our scanner on our copier machine into your Pride folder. And it really truly needs to be within a school setting just to protect yourself and your students. While having a tutoring session at Mojo sounds delightful because I love coffee, it's just not a good practice and best practice to have these things happening outside of the school setting. A couple other things we expanded last year, the summer school tutoring option. So you feel free to pause and read this particular piece. The Pride Manual. So a ton of information is located within that Pride Manual, including the reimbursement piece, the logging of hours, more detailed info, deadlines, the forms you need to use. All of that is in the NSD curriculum and PD course that will be being updated and uploaded into Canvas very soon. But that manual is a great place to start if you have questions about something. Your Pride reps, which I have them listed at the one of the last slides in this slide deck, they're also a great resource. And then if they can't answer it, they'll send it on to me and I can kind of get further clarification. But please check out that manual and utilize your Pride reps as well. So Pride forms. There are 2 different forms that you would need to fill out. One is a tutoring log, and then there's a non-tutoring log. So there's 2 different forms. They are view only, so you'll need to file make a copy. If I grant you access, if you click request access, and I did that, I would be giving you editing rights to the original form. So I will not do that, and I will just remind you to view or file make a copy. Please do not forget to go in and rename your sheet, as it will be helpful for your Pride rep. So your Pride and Career Ladder reps have to comb through all of these sheets and look at the hours just to make sure that you're compliant, we're compliant, all the things are compliant, and just make it as easy as possible, because that's a very heavy load that they carry as serving on the Pride and Career Ladder Committee. So let's talk about reimbursement. There's a 60-hour max. Of course, 20 hours are tutoring, so another 40 hours can be outside of tutoring. It can be committee work, it could be book study, it could be the clubs and organizations, service project with a limit of 5 hours on that one. The Pride Manual lists out all of the different options. Professional development is a huge one. The Pride Manual highlights those different categories. So 60 hours total, 20 of it being tutoring. So you get $20 an hour, which equals a $1,200 max. I should have an equal sign there. I will fix that. If you do not meet the 20 hours of tutoring, so this is something very important to pay attention to. If you get 19 hours, you get 19 and a half hours, you get 10 hours. You do not get compensation for any of the hours that you put in. So you might have 40 hours in professional development and book studies and committee work, but you only got 10 hours of tutoring. Unfortunately, you do not get any compensation. So 20 hours is the linchpin, and it's very key that you get those 20 hours of tutoring in. If you meet the 20 hours of tutoring, but only then got in another 20, let's say you weren't on any committees and you attended your professional development and that was it. So you only got 40 hours total instead of the 60. 20 from tutoring and 20 from committees at $20 an hour, you would get reimbursed $800. So partial reimbursement if you've met your 20 hours with Career Ladder. That's a little bit different. With Pride. That's a little bit different with Career Ladder. There are a few things that are not eligible. The mandated trainings by DESE, like the Safe Schools videos that we have to watch, dyslexia training, SSTAC, which is a survey through the Special Education Department. Just those contract responsibilities like IEP meetings, natural and man-made disaster supervision, like a bomb threat. It's just not something that, that's a supervision of students and not really tutoring, not working on a club, not professional development, like all those things are a checkbox in the no column. So that would be not eligible. Graduation attendance, parent-teacher conferences, open house. There are just some things that are required as an educator, right? So it's just being mindful that these things are above and beyond items outside of contracted time. If you receive a stipend for participation, you are not eligible to double dip and get Pride reimbursement as well. So you have to be very mindful of that. And then if you attend a professional development during contracted time that's paid for by the Professional Development Committee. So you go to a conference and it is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it's 7:30 to 3:30 is the conference that's paid for by the Professional Development Committee. You do not get to count PD hours for that for Pride. If it's a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday conference, that Sunday where sessions are being had and not just registration, but sessions are being had, that would be considered reimbursable on the Pride program. So it gets very confusing even for our veteran teachers that have done this for a very long time. So I have created this flow chart. And the thing that you need to first put a lens on, look at your opportunity, is if it's outside of contracted time. That is key. If it is not outside of contracted time, it goes on one side of the flow chart, which it will count toward your district 20 hours. So let me dive into that a little bit farther. DESE requires each teacher, regardless of the number of years, to have professional development. The district says 20 hours of professional development. So if your PD is not outside of contracted time, you can log it on your 20 district hour log and then put that documentation, that certificate, the agenda, whatever in your folder. It's not eligible for Pride. If it is outside of contracted time, it also counts to those 20 district hours on that PD that's required. And then you have to ask another question of, did you receive a stipend? If you did, it's not eligible. So you would only be doing the PD log for the district hours and the documentation in the PD folder. If you did not receive a stipend, then it's also eligible for Pride and Career Ladder. So you would log hours on your Pride or Career Ladder log. You would log hours on your district PD log, and then you would have documentation, the certificate, the agenda, whatever, in both your PD folder and your Pride or Career Ladder folder. And you can see the definition of what professional development is at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to pause and take a look at that. It's basically instructional information which will impact student success, not talking about field trips, for example. So right now is page 13 of the manual. It's all the important dates at a glance. Those are clickable links, not in the presentation, but in the manual. All the deadlines, notice the August deadline, and then those are like a mid-year check. And then there is the May 6th deadline for turning in all of those different things. So I will reference this quite a lot. Please go back to that area and check on that to see where you are in terms of what needs to be turned in and when. So your Pride reps are listed as follows. Now, I do need to add in RISE. I had not added in that building just yet, so I hadn't heard who the person was. And so I will fix that, which is, but for the most part, I don't think we have any new teachers at the RISE building. So please feel free to hit up these different Pride reps. They're here to help you. They're really, if they flag something and say this isn't eligible, it's not that they are trying to be nitpicky and difficult for you. It's that they're trying to make sure that we don't have any issues in terms of compliance and have our funding pulled for the different programs. So we have a tiny little bit of wiggle room with Pride and what we can count. Career Ladder is much more strict because it's coming from DESE, and should we be audited, we need to make sure that we are following the guidelines to the T. But these people are here to help you, as am I. One of the biggest things is the misinformation that can kind of spread about. So if you are like, well, that, nobody really knows, you're not getting a confident answer, just definitely double check with those Pride reps, double check with me. We will get you fixed up and on the right track. And again, it's ideally everybody just gets a stipend for all the extra work they do, but that's just not reality at this point. So if you do get a no, it's not because anybody's trying to be difficult. It's just because we have certain guidelines we have to follow. So please make sure you've completed the Pride intent form that's next in the Canvas module. Even if you're not participating this year, please choose that option so I know that everybody is accounted for. If you're interested because you're starting your third year of teaching and you want to hear more about the Career Ladder option, then please watch the next video as well, because there will be more information on what's required and the expectations on that video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.